Hello, welcome to my photo studio and to ProPhotoLife.com. As a professional photographer, one of my primary goals is to get the best possible quality digital file that I can get coming straight out of my camera. In order to do that, I really have to understand how my camera meter sees a scene and how it thinks. That's what we're going to look at today. I took this photograph on the way into the studio this morning because it represents what we call an average scene. There are plenty of highlights, there are plenty of shadows, they're in about equal proportion to each other, there are midtones. If you take all of the tonal values in this photograph and put them together, they average out somewhere in the middle. And this is the kind of scene that a camera meter does a great job of exposing. Let's look at the histogram. If you're not familiar with how to properly read a histogram, the left side of it represents the darkest areas, the middle represents the midtones, and the right side represents the lightest areas of the photograph. Because this photo has a real spread of different tonal values, we see a real spread in the histogram. This looks great. Now let's take a look at this same image overexposed a couple of stops. You'll see the histogram is pressed up all the way to the right. Even more alarming is it's climbing up the right side of the chart. Anytime you start climbing up the sides, then you're losing detail. That means there's detail that cannot be recovered. Let's look at an underexposed image of this same photograph. Now the chart is all the way to the left. We're climbing up the left side. Anywhere that we're climbing up the left side means there's detail that's been lost. It cannot be recovered. So it's important to keep the histogram between the two sides. That's your first consideration. So let's look at this photo the way the camera does. Let's average it all together and mix it all up and get that middle value that it's probably seeing. So since the camera basically sees things as middle values, I've picked up a gray card and I'm going to take a photograph of it doing just exactly what my camera meter tells me. It doesn't matter if I use the camera in an automatic mode and it sets everything for me, or if I use it in manual and just do strictly what it tells me. If I set the meter to what it tells me, it's the same thing as using automatic. I'm not overriding anything. I'm not making any decisions on my own. I'm letting the camera do the deciding. So let's take a photograph of the gray card and we'll take a look at the photograph and we'll take a look at the histogram. It looks great. It's right where it should be because this is a middle value. It's in the middle of the histogram. Now what happens if we photograph something that's black? Again, letting the camera make all of the decisions. Let's photograph this. It's in the middle of the histogram again. But we know that's not a middle value. It's a dark value. We'll try white. Let's do that. Okay. They all three look the same. Because the camera is doing the thinking, it's telling us that everything is a middle value. Now let's try this. Let's put the gray in the center. Let's put the white to my right. Let's put the black to my left and take a photograph there. It now balances out once again. We have gray in the center, we have dark on one side, we have light on one side. So there are equal proportions of dark and light. Okay. Now that's interesting. That is an accurate histogram. I hope this illustration makes it obvious where tonal values should fall on a histogram. Anything that's a mid value in the photograph should be in the middle of the histogram. Anything that's bright or light or white should be over to the right side of the histogram. Anything that's really dark or shadows should be over to the left side of the histogram. So take control of your exposures by overexposing or underexposing to try and land these values on the histogram exactly where you feel they should be in the final photograph. You'll get much better looking results straight out of the camera. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has been a help. If you would like to compare the actual photographs and histograms taken for the video, just come to ProPhotoLife.com, do a search for episode 5, and there you'll find all the supporting materials.